everybody, welcome back to Derail Simulator. So without further ado, let's get it started. Now, we are playing, we're going to be going old school and only be doing steam trains. Now, at the start of the game, now this is going to be a brand new career mode. By the way, we're going to be in the most cranked out setting that you can get in the game, which is realistic. Now, I could do custom and make it a bit harder on myself, but realistic is good enough on difficulty wise. Now, let's go ahead and get started here. And while we load into the game, I'm going to be giving a little bit of what this playthrough is going to look like. So we're going to be starting using a DE2. I know, not a steam locomotive, but we're going to start by using the DE2 because that's the only train you get at the start of the game. We have no mods on, not even Zyback's coupler mod. I may or may not include that. That's depending on whether or not you guys want to see me include Zyback's coupler. And another thing, I have to do an mod update video on the Fireman Assistant mod because it's gotten quite advanced since the last time you guys have seen it at least. Yep, got it. So, what we are probably going to do is I'm going to lay out all of our, you can get shunting for 1,000, so that's honestly not that bad, and that's not bad either. That's actually the max capacity, and that's only 2 drop-offs. That's hazmat too. See, we can't do that. Sorry. It's hazmat, we won't be able to do it, but, and that's long, we can't do that. We can do that. Can't do that. We can do that, but that's too cheap for what we're trying to accomplish. That's it, and can't. Have a shunting mission with 3 pickups. That's it. All right. We can actually this. All we have to do is get our wallet ready. Is we're going to go down here to license and purchase the shunting license for $1,000, which is actually what you're supposed to do at the start of the game. That's more of like what the DE2 was designed for. Now, I think my audio should be a heck of a lot better than when I went live the other day. No, I did go live the other day and do a play test on Alaskan Road Truckers. Now, I will say the play test was great. I enjoyed playing it. There's a few minor bugs that you can probably see in the live stream. However, we're going to be doing old school as well. Really flip this around. But, however, the problem that I had was force feedback for steering would cut out and the vibration was still there, which was a little bit peculiar, but not too bad, I guess. And at one time, it actually crashed my NVIDIA GeForce experience, which is not good. Well, it essentially crashed the driver that it says encoder overloaded on the whole thing else side. So we're going to try to avoid overloading the encoder as much as possible. Actually, pausing helps fix that. There we go, we're back. I was just double checking a few things and making sure I didn't have, stuff running in the background, which I really didn't. did use NVIDIA GeForce during the live stream of the Alaskan Road Truckers playtest because it uses less resources, and I wanted to see truly how that setup would work if I were to use it in the future, which I'm not because I know better. But it was a good test to see how everything was going to work. Now, realistically, you want this centered. We're not centering this whatsoever, and I'm actually going to, instead of manually spinning it around electrically, nope. Yeah. Alright. Good. Turn off the independent. I did not go and actually accept this order. Right? Because I don't even know what track it's on. Assume it's going outbound, so it's probably on the B track. Likely, it has to be on the, it's either on the B or H. Do that order. I didn't even realize it was a long order. It's a goods factory in town, and a much quicker time than that. Objective in this episode, by the way, is to actually go and goods factory in town is in the direction our train's pointed, so it'll work. And that's on the B40 track. By the way, it is 40, not 40, and you can actually tell. And the reason why it's an O track is because that's going out. It's an outbound track. I stands for inbound. P stands for passenger, and O stands for loading, obviously. S, I forgot what S stands for. I guess it's like a standby, or I don't know. But we're going to the B, which is me. We're going to go ahead and turn on these lights to daytime running. A little bit of fun playing vanilla Derail Valley. I haven't actually played Derail Valley in a hot minute since last career mode that I did. I kind of wrapped it up without officially wrapping it up, but it was wrapped up. We're just transferring over steel. Now this steel does not weigh that much. It's only 230 tons, which is well within our payload capacity of this train, or engine. Be fine. Now, I will say, these videos are not going to be edited that much. Derail Valley is not a game that you can really play and edit the video on. Now, I could, in hindsight, edit the videos if people wanted to see that. If you guys want to see me edit a video, if you guys want to see edited videos of Derail Valley, I can accommodate for it, right? It'd probably be best if I lined everything up beforehand. We're coming from the northeast direction, so we're kind of, yeah, going to the left 2 tracks. Just got a text or something. Just JSO is searching for credit card theft. suspect. Gotta love Jacksonville, am I right? Alright. Comms radio. Switch you. And you. That ain't right. That ain't right at all. I just passed the right track. Son of a gun. The independent, not the train brake. You would think having 120 hours in Derail that I'd be able to figure out what track goes where, but you know, sometimes same. We'll go ahead and reset the switch as we get off of it. Flip you by the independent. Reverser. Bit of throttle. Get up to a little bit of speed, but I do need to slow the train down before we get to the load. Ideally. And then we're gonna try to come back on the load slowly. What we're gonna do is we're gonna try to either stop or slow down enough before we reach the load and come back on it slowly. That's the ideal way to hitch up, so that way you know for sure you're not gonna damage any of your trailers and doesn't go that far and yada yada yada. But your cars, not trailers, cars. Right. Fly the independent. It's down to well, we were there. First hand wheel is not set, so it's the last hand wheel. If you didn't know, Derail Valley sets always one hand wheel at a time. Anybody watching this video probably knows that already because you guys probably watch big time YouTubers and not me, but you know, it is what it is. We'll go ahead and get everything latched up. And tighten it down. Let's go. Undo the back one here. Let's actually see on the order. Yeah, so the one in the front had the hand wheel applied. I don't know if that's true for every order. I haven't actually found a common denominator on that. Probably is. Now, again, this is a shunting locomotive. This is not a locomotive for freight hauling, even though most of the time you're going to be doing a freight haul at the beginning of the game. Just because, you know, it's easier to do a freight haul. We're going in goods factory in town on the D5I track. Going to keep our we're here around 400 because that tells me that we are constantly in a acceleration. We're constantly giving a ample torque. Coming up is a downhill section. Sorry about the like 30 seconds of quiet, you know. Sometimes people like quiet, sometimes people don't like quiet. I don't know. Kind of fun having the just the sound of the engine. But we are approaching a downhill, as you see here. We have a 70 going down. Over there is like a storage train house. We can just store some locomotives over there, off track and out of sight, if you do so want. Now, I will say, yeah, it's kind of weird how my mic is set up, but it works. We got 70 mark, and we're still on a downhill. I'll turn that acceleration off. Up a little bit. Because we're not quite at 70. A bit spicy, but not that spicy. We can kick it all the way up to 80. Let's just rip it. Never mind, we can only do 70, so let's go back to idle. Heavier your train, the more momentum you carry. But also got to remember, gravity also works on those heavier trains. Just because heavy locomotive does not mean that you're going to continue, because if you're on a uphill, it's going to be constantly fighting against your engine. Even if you have momentum, it's still going to be fighting against you no matter what, as compared to a flat track. When you're on a flat track, your momentum is going to pretty much for a long time. Even if you have a hand wheel applied care, it's going to keep on plowing through. Gaining speed, it's like we're topped out at 70. The goods factory in town is our next switch. So the next switch has to be going to the right, which we are coming up to. It's going to be not this bend, but the next bend that goes to the left. We will have a switch on. A little bit spicy this corner going 70. That's a little iffy. Here's our left bend here. Go ahead and drop the throttle off. Put some brakes as we coming into a 6. Back. Switch. Give it a bit more brake. 55's probably okay. Crank it back. So the D2's got tons of torque, but what it doesn't got is a lot of not have a lot of horsepower. Now, what that means is essentially the motors do not spin very quick. They spin slower. So even though this thing can pull a load and shunt a load, it's not going to be the quickest thing out there. And you're relying on 2 traction motors instead of like a DE6 that has 6 traction motors, or a DH4 which has 4 hydraulic traction motors. But we're not going to be messing around with those. We are only going to be messing around with the steam locos. One may ask, am I going to be using a, what's it called? Going to be using an S60 for the lighter haul missions. And that's actually a not bad question, right? Because you don't really need a big boy train like the 282 to do your 300-ton loads, right? It's really nothing for a 282 to do it. That's the point. It's nothing for the 282 to move it, right? However, we are going to be messing around with the 060, as that will be the first locomotive we are going to be able to purchase. That is a steam locomotive. It's only 20 grand for the license, and we have to pop and get a shovel, which I believe there's a shop here that we can get a shovel at. So I think we will be fine to do so. Engine to stop here. And while it's stopping, I'm gonna go and switches. Because everybody likes to flip a switch, right? Now, if I recall, this is going on the 5i? Yeah. That one's going to the right, so this one needs to go to the right. Needs to go to the left. And all is fine and well. Because this game actually does have a way where you can only do manual switching, which is fine, but that's depending on how heavy your load is. Because some loads are not the best to do that sort of maneuvers with, right? Like an 800-ton load on a positive 1.5 or 2.3 grade, which we have in the valley, would be hard to start moving again without any momentum. If you stop right there dead on the tracks at that switch, to throw the switch, it's going to be tough to get the engine going again. I'm not saying it's impossible, but for an engine, the DE6, for example, you'd have to have a slug on it to even haul that load, right? Technically, you could do it, but would be recommended to have a slug. And an S282, you just better hope the tracks are not wet at all. If the tracks are wet, good luck getting that thing back up again. You can get it started, but it's just going to be a tricky little feat. All right, we're on track. By the brakes. Boom, you goofball. Here we go. We're at the D5I track. We're going to fully push it on. Going to kind of park this like you should, which is no air in the lines. Then we're going to come out here. Apply only one hand wheel because Derail Valley lives by that sort of standard for some odd reason. Connect air. And yeah, put you back there. Up goes the weasel. Everything is fine. This would be turned off. All right. There's 3D. We could have a 3DE2 thing going on, which I don't recommend, but it does exist. Isn't that nice? So let's run over here to the station office and see what the office has to say. Our work here. Validate. Boom. We got the time bonus because it only took us 20 minutes to do that order. Our 21 grand. Looky there. Looky there. 22,984. That's not bad. Now, to note is we do have to buy a, and I already knew where the D track was because I played Derail Valley enough, but we're going to go run down the road here and find the shop. Now, if you didn't know, the shops are actually off of roadways. They're not just out and about everywhere. So if you want to find the shop, follow the roadways. Don't follow the tracks, follow the roadways. You can actually buy the different levels of shovels. Now, if you didn't know, you have 3 different shovels in the game. You have standard, the golden, and the expert. So the golden is you shovel, a lot of coal in with one go, right? The expert shovels less coal, but it allows you to have a much finer control of the coal amount in the fireboxes, which is actually what you want to do. You actually want to control the coal in the firebox and have as little coal in there as possible, so that way your steam generation stays good. You don't smother out the fire. You're not wasting resources, and you're doing a good job of it. Now, I don't need to take this scanner with me. That can just stay in the world right here. So to press V to drop. Then insert our wallet. Pay the $250. Boom, we have a shovel. Now, I'm going to go over here and pay our fee. Technically, we don't have to pay our fee yet. I guess we don't really need to do that right now. Yeah. Let's buy the license, and then S060 or S060. You see, that's a 0, not O. But buy a license, you must clear all your fees. So that's what I thought. Gonna go up. Not stats. I clicked fees. $100. There's your $100. Go down, license. 60. Insert our wallet. We have the license. Now, where does an S060 spawn, you may be wondering? And that's a very good question. I typically find it at the farm. It's going to cost us a little bit of money to find this locomotive. But I typically find, there it is. Speaking of the devil, there's the S060. Now, I didn't buy a lantern because we don't need a lantern operating this engine. It has a cab light in it, which we're going to go ahead and activate all of our accessory drives here and fire it up while we get a job accepted. Firebox or shovel here. If you didn't know, you can actually hold 4 shovels of coal in the firebox. But I didn't buy a lighter. Son of a biscuit. I had to buy a lighter, which we should have done. Is now the closest store is at CSW, as that cost us $618. How much money do I have? Here, we could travel there and back. Do not cost that much, please. Because I made a simple little mistake that's going to make us waste a ton of money. By the way, here's the caboose key. In case you're curious, the caboose key is at this shop here. The Reginald's garage key. I don't need a... Yeah, there we go. Everybody hope and pray that we have enough money and we don't get stuck here. All right? Yeah, look at that, guys. That's the S282. By the way, the reason why this is an 060 is because there's 0 wheels in the front. There's 6 wheels that are being powered, and there's 0 wheels behind. So these are your guides. There's no guide wheels on this engine. So that's why it's an S060. We can only do 1, and this is going to the food factory in town. Would actually be better, probably. No, there's no real shunting jobs here. Okay. $8,000 just... We like that, but it'll be fine. Our accessory drives are on. We can go ahead and flip that light there. Even though we don't have any fire going. Light it up. Now this engine, you want to keep the fire temp around 800 degrees. Of course, not firing this engine up, but when going down the track, degrees is probably the best. Now, close up the box a little. Yeah, we'll close up the box. The dampener you're not supposed to touch. If you didn't know, you're just supposed to drive it. Pull that for first go here. Probably good enough. This is a shunting locomotive, again, like the DE2. And we're going to the B50 track, which, are we on the B50? We have to go over 2 tracks. That's okay. What's our load look like? Looks like a couple of... Yeah. Alright. I got it. I know where we're going. Yeah, so that coal should stay happy in there. Add water to raise that gauge up, because it's not where I'd like to run it. We're already past the 50, so we can stop. So we take our comms radio out. Or I don't want to throw that switch, but the game wants me to. We're not going to throw it. We're just going to wait. That's good. That's all we need. Just get let out. Condensates a little bit faster than the 282. That's okay. Go ahead and get in seated position here. Now, how fast are we going? We're going 15. This does have an independent self-lapping brake, so I can use it instead of the manual lapping brake to slow us down to where I want us. That water going, so we're gonna pull that cylinder cock just to we're pushing along here. Still fine. No, that's 600. That's normal. Bit high in boiler pressure there, so I'm gonna knock it down with some water. That stays even while I finish hooking all this stuff up. That was a little bit harder than I thought it was going to be. That can be cut off. We're going to go ahead and... Nope. We're going to go ahead and start moving here. Or the Johnson bar all the way forward. Give it 3 bar to start moving and push all that water out of the cylinders. And let's chug along. Look at what orientation are we facing? We are facing north. Our pressures are a little bit high. I'm gonna knock them down a bit. do need to run northeast, yeah, so we'll be fine. And we're running to food factory in town, right? Nice and clear. And to add a bit more coal, maybe that's the reason why we're running so clear. We're doing good. Getting up to that 800 mark right now. Back our water for a second here. Well, we can keep adding water. I'd actually add a bit more than we're adding right now, to be honest with you. Open the reg to full, pull the Johnson to the first notch just past the gold there. Are good to chug along. Too much water in there now. That still looks fine. Stack looks good, so we should be fine. Going down a little bit due to us being on a grade. We actually are lower in the boiler than I thought we were. Actually gonna bump that and dump it a little bit. Also going to drop our pressure down by quite a bit. Cut this back bar, I mean, why did I call it a Jamie bar, a Johnson bar? Dumping at half for a little bit, and then we're gonna kick it back down a notch. Keep it open 2 clicks. Nepner's wide open. We are running low on coal. We'll add some coal. And dark. You see the Johnson bar being cut back a little bit, but we don't really want to accelerate right now. Not like we really can. We're over the limit of this engine. Still sending steam, so we're good on that aspect. That we don't need a chi in there. Now we're not running efficiently because the what's it called? Our rag's not up to pressure. Currently there's only 3 bar in the chest. Also decelerating, so we can go ahead and move the Johnson bar forward 1, and that seemed to clear things up a little bit. Not too much, we'll send a little bit more, and there we go, we're clear. I mainly was running idle there to help our boiler pressure come back up. Now, another thing you can do as you're going down the hill, if you want, you can actually turn on your blower, and even though you're sitting idle and you don't really want more speed, your blower can help keep that fire hot, chugging along, because you don't have the steam pressure helping the fire go when you're just sitting idle. So utilize the blower, utilize your blowdown, and you'll be good to go. Now, one thing you may notice is we are running a little bit low on coal, but we're not terribly low on coal. So I'm going to start adding 2 clicks of water. 2 clicks of water should relatively balance it out on our usage. However, it is going to lower our boiler temp, so that is one thing it is going to be a little bit tricky on balancing. We're also, running a little bit lower on coal than I would like to. There we go, we refilled. Still running clear. It's a little bit dirtier. We can go ahead and throw that Johnson bar forward a little bit more. Now, if you remember correctly, we have this switch set going to goods factory in town. We want to switch this switch to go back over in. So there we go. It's now back on the main. Now, that is white, so we want to cut that back a little bit. More of a grayer color. There we go. That's much better. Yeah. Is the oil well. Oil well north is what that is, and we don't want to run into that. Have a fun time if you run over there. Now we are expelling steam, which makes me... Now that's wider. Tells me we can cut back a bit more. Probably I'll cut all the way back to neutral. We are in neutral right now. You may want to actually give a little bit of input here and give it some coal. Doors closed, that's staying relatively balanced. It's not going to be true now because we are going uphill. So I do want you to keep that in mind. actually add a slight bit more coal to our firebox. To achieve a better ratio there. The tell color at night. But from what I'm seeing, we can probably lax it up a bit. Have a switch coming ahead with a limit of 60. Forward another notch right into that gold. A limit of 3. We're gonna cut this sucker way back. Start applying some brakes. Actually, are going to have to reverse because we went past the switch. See how quickly that smoke darkened up. There. Now, we're going to go ahead and it's still giving it water, which is fine by me, but we go ahead and go back a bit. You should always, in the 060, you can actually always add earth on the first click. In the 282, you can't. But in the 060, you can, because that first click doesn't add enough water to overfill the boiler, in my experience. As long as you're constant running. If you're not constant running, then you can turn that off. But if you're constant running, then you can always have that at least one click over just to make sure you, just to have it going. Notice our fire temperature is down back to 600. You have to roll backwards quite a little bit to get over to this switch here. Once we pass this switch, which we're about to now, throw on the train brake. The switch. Releasing the pressure here. And pull out the cylinder cock a little bit. We're about to be on flat track. Flat track. Gives us an accurate representation of our water needle. And our water needle is a little bit low, so we're going to add quite a bit to it. Now we are already over the limit. And we're starting to go downhill. Keep up steam generation here. We're going to turn the blower on. It's going clear. tells me we have no coal in the firebox. One scoop should get us to where we need to go. We're so good. This next turn coming up is a 30, so I am trying to get us down below that 30 mark. Order being dropped off at the D2I track, which according to the station map, that's fun. Go ahead and apply all the brakes. This D2I is over there. Off the boiler while the blower while you're sitting still for a bit. No need to be wasting steam pressure. I can just let the fire kill out. I am going to be using the forward thing. Make somebody motion sick, then comments, and I will not do it. That's the D2I track. It's already fully lined. All we have to do is switch over to it. So we are pretty much good to go. Turned off the blower. I have all that black coal coming out of the top over there. Now go ahead and cut off our water. Stick this thing in full brakes. Rise ourselves up to 3 bar. Forward. Can't do on a diesel. You can see our coal's about gone. The steam, the cylinder cocks. Out of that cylinder. And we are done with our first haul in the SO60. Funny enough, both of our hauls ran up here to the north. And we'll be using this 060 from now on until we can unlock the S282. Now, done with this order, so I'm going to wrap it up after we turn it in. But this was a pretty successful first video. It didn't really seem like it took that long. Now, this is 2 hauls, but I think the video is about a normal, an hour length? Which is pretty normal for a video like this, so kind of happy with that. Go ahead and apply the train brake. How this is still on fire, we'll dump whatever coal is in there. The train will since we don't have the manual service license, we're just going to pay the fee to get this thing redone. I shouldn't have done that, but that's okay. Because we're probably not going to shunt it, so. You actually follow these jobs fairly well most of the time. Follow one job to, you can follow a shunt and loading shunt job to a freight haul job, and the freight haul job into a unload job, and maybe another shunt and load job, or maybe even a logistical haul, like this one, for example. But kind of fun to follow around the trains. And see, that only took us 30 minutes, so probably around the hour mark of the video. This was only 12:55. Yeah, that explains. So anyway, I hope you guys did enjoy this video, and if you did, please remember to like, comment, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell icon, and I will see you in the next one.